okay? Today, those folks, these house the sorority sisters for the College of Charleston gals for their sororities.
I think your air cut off.
Yeah, I cut it off just a minute when I turn on that. Now, it'll be back on. I turn that engine back on.
Okay.
Okay. All right, both of the secretaries of Treasury for the Confederacy folks were Charlestonians. The first was a gentleman by the name of Christopher G. Memminger. And after the war, after the Civil War to the States, he turned his attention towards education. So over here to your right is Memminger Elementary. Next to it is Memminger Auditorium. Now the other gentleman was a gentleman by the name of George A. Terhune. George A. Terhune. And Mr. Terhune, folks, a lot of people think that Margaret Mitchell used him, you guys from Atlanta, used him as a character for her in her novel Gone with the Wind. And Mr. Memminger and Mr. Terhune, folks, were ship owners during the Civil War. The harbor was blocked, and they had blockade runners, and they were Charleston natives, who, in Gone with the Wind, was a Charleston native, and also
Rhett Butler.
Right on. Right. That's who they think to use.
Right.
For this Trump. Now, that Anthony Asher Cooper, guys, he wanted Charleston to be London here in the West Hemisphere. And probably without Civil War, we might be bigger than Chicago. I mean, bigger than New York City today, but the war kind of put a squash on that. Well, our number one industry here in Charleston is tourism. Number two is shipping. And guys, when you have ships, you have sailors, they be at sea to 4 to 6 months. Ma'am, they come ashore, they want to play tiddlywinks and enjoy Bible study, right? Wrong answer, no. They wanted wine, women, song, and dance, and not necessarily in that order. So, look over here to your right, West Street. Right here, the first street over here, this is the parking lot right here. Beginning of Charleston's red light district, guys.
Oh.
Now, interesting thing about this is, look over here to your left, Fulton Street. It's only been Fulton Street, guys, since 1945, into World War II. Prior to that, it was called Bransford Street, B-R-E-S-F-O-R-D. Anybody have any idea why they would change the name of that street?
No. No.
Well, because on that street, folks, was the Big Red House. Anybody have any idea what the Big Red House was?
Well, I could take a guess.
Take a guess, ma'am. Just a...
Is that the whorehouse?
Yes, ma'am. The brothel. Well, right there. Can you see the ladies? Can you imagine the ladies hanging out those windows?
Yeah.
Sailors? Right on. But guys, 1940, World War II, Navy very heavy here in Charleston. They went to the city final to see either the girls go, ma'am, or the Navy. Navy's bringing in too much money. The Navy stayed here until the end of the 20th century. The girls left. They were cleaned up. Now over here to your right, I'm sorry, left, not bad. Left is St. John's Lutheran Church, pastored by Reverend John Backman. Now his daughter's married to Audubon's 2 sons, and Mr. Audubon named a number of birds, especially the Backman sparrow, which you see up in the Presbyterian Forest up here in the town and around for him. Now the other church over here is the second independent or meeting house, okay? That one over there on Meeting Street got too big. They had to have a second church. So they built this one over here to your left. Now this church wasn't finished during the American Revolution, and when the British occupied Charleston, guys, you have any idea what they did with this church? What's it look like? It's not a church. How about a barn? And they did. They stabled the horses in this church. After the war, they fixed it back up as a Congregational church. But what does it say, ma'am? Can you read the sign on the side of the church? What's it say?
Unitarian Church.
Right. It's a Unitarian church. Well, folks, if you look over here in the graveyard, the steeple there with the urn in it, that's the grave of Samuel and Caroline Gilman. These churches always called their ministers folks from Harvard, Boston. These people, though, happen to be Unitarians. They came down here to Charleston. They turned this church into a Unitarian church. It's a very progressive church, and it's the Unitarian church today. You come down here, worship as Unitarian. All these churches are, like I said again, are ongoing.
I never heard of Unitarian.
Yeah, it means any religion. It's just, y'all used to go. There's one on San Diego.
Now, the lawyers, the doctors, the ministers, the plantation guys are surrounded us by 100 miles. It'd be very difficult, you can imagine. We're servicing all those, but they didn't have to worry about it because you got part of the plantation are living here in the city from May until October. I want to show you a little bit later on where the lawyers were. We get down the Four Corners Law. Now the ministers, I've shown you the church, but up here, right over here, in front of us to the right, it's called the Civic Corner. And down, halfway down this block was the old, somewhere there, was the almshouse. But over here on the corner, get close. This was Roper Hospital, Civil Hospital. And it was here till the 1920s, folks. That's when it moved over to Calvin Street where it is today. And I'd love to show you the old hospital. I can show you. You see the wall over here? Mm-hmm. That's all that's left, ma'am, due to Hurricane Hugo. It blew all the rest of the buildings down, which came here September 21st, 1989. Now down here, y'all look over here to your right, all the way through the courtyard there. You see the wall over there?
Yeah.
Behind that, that's the old city jail. And they do have ghost tours if y'all are into ghosts. You should evening ghost tour and that'll take you to the old jail. Next to it, the green building here with the green shutters, that was the Marine Hospital. Guys, they did not let the sailors into the Civic Hospital. They had to be in this one. This one, after the war turned into a black orphanage. Daniel Jenkins, and that orphanage is still in town. It's up in North Charleston today. That's today's, now houses the administration building for this low income housing project. Now look over here behind this blue, black Nissan. You see the little monument over there? Can y'all see it? See it over there? Right on the sidewalk? Little monument there. Looks like a little bit. That's the monument for the Medical College of South Carolina, folks. Founded that location in 1824. Now, in 1920, ma'am, they moved here and they went over and joined on Calhoun Street with Roper Hospital. Now, today, they're over there still. They're not called the Medical College of South Carolina today. They're called the Medical University of South Carolina. And if you want a medical degree, anything from pharmacy to a doctor, folks, medical doctor, you come here to Charleston to the Medical University of South Carolina to get your degrees. Now, and they're known for their, Medical University of South Carolina is known for its cancer research and also prenatal. Now, you notice the neighborhood we're in, the houses look kind of new. Those settlers that came over here, guys, in 1680 would come back here, they would probably faint because Charleston is a third largest land mass-wise than she was in 1680. How you do that? You fill in the creeks, the marshes, the mud flats. You'll see this all through the tour today. And right here is a part of a beautiful example. Now look over here to your left, you'll see a little fence behind the palm tree. Okay, folks, when it rains here a great deal like it did last October, 17 inches in 3 days, the streets flood. And they put these little fences up to block the streets off so that you can see little cars like here would flood out. Now, ma'am, sometimes we just give up.